Bitcoin to 40K? Fact or fiction? Question everything. Trust nothing. Welcome to Debate Crypto. It's your boy Crypto Keeper here for another episode of TA Thursday Around the Charts. Welcome everybody. Really excited that you're here. You could be anywhere on a Thursday, but you're here kicking it with Debate Crypto. Make sure you smash that like on the way in. And for all of these creators that are about to come on giving you the best TA in the land, make sure to follow them on their socials. Let's kick it off. Good friend of mine, good friend of the channel, the one and only Crypto Blood.
What's going on, brother? What's going on? Thanks for having me on. It's been a while, so I'm glad to be back on.
Popping off with the gunshots coming in. Glad to see you here from the D, from up north in the D.
Yes,
We've also got the weekly Bill Noble. Bill, how you doing, brother?
Hi, thanks for having me.
Dude, super excited to have you on as always. And then we got Magic Internet Money. What's going on, bro?
We're just keeping it extra casual today.
Extra cash, doing a little yard work, come back, toss out a little TA knowledge onto the people, sprinkle it onto them a little bit, like some of that little yard grass that you were just
right.
That's right. Make sure to follow everybody on the socials, guys. We've all, you know what we do. We've all got Twitter. We've all got all of the different socials. Make sure to follow. The information is down below, especially on YouTube. It's important for us to be able to continue to press that information out there. This is how some of us make a living. So we appreciate everybody. Let me jump into the chat real quick. We've got a good number of people in here to start. We have got David, first one in, longtime follower. David, glad that you're here. We've got Bullrunner, Puddles, Rudy Roo, Kim Craig, the Crypto Clan in the house. Who else we got? Let's see here. Richard Berry. Welcome. I'm assuming that some of these are sneaking over from the other channels. Mr. Noble, I think you have some people in here. Blood, I think you got some people in here. So welcome, everybody. Right. FU. That's actually his name. I'm not saying F you to anybody.
I'm like, whoa, the hostility, man.
Whoa.
Come on, Keeper.
We are
I know the Kyle's got it. I know you got beef. But
that is for a Twitter space, I think. Mr. Musk will allow us to have that conversation.
Yes, sir.
I don't think we can have it on here. But yeah, so welcome everyone. Glad that everybody's here. Let's kick it off. Let's take a look at the overall market cap, see what's going on there, and then we will press on forward. So the global crypto market cap is at 1.19 trillion with a T dollars. That is down 0.3%. Sitting pretty flat. Bitcoin was just above 28. It's a little bit below 28 right now at 27,996. ETH about 1868. ETH has been making some nice little moves recently, up about 5% on the week. Good to see that. Glad to see Tether at $1. We want to make sure those stable coins don't depeg. And then effectively a stable coin recently has been BNB. No matter how much FUD you throw at BNB, it's staying around that 300 to 310,
isn't it?
Yeah. It stays and stands firm. XRP fam staying above 50 cents. And then rounding out the top 10, the biggest mover to the downside, although the biggest mover on the weekly would be Dogecoin, which many of you know because of Twitter's little logo now, would probably be the reason for that movement. All right, so gentlemen, as always, glad to have you on here. I want to do a little bit different today. I want to kick off with just a question, just kind of a real quick rapid fire single question, and then we're going to dive into some of the longer stuff. I want to start off that way. I want to start off knowing, does the US dollar collapse before 2030? So I'll kick it off with you, Blood. Does the US dollar collapse before 2030?
Is this a yes or no binary answer?
Yeah, you can give me a little bit of an answer on top of it.
Oh, okay. I can put a little funk on it. All right. Sounds good. No, it does not.
Okay.
The US dollar is not going to collapse anytime soon. Maybe not even in our lifetime. So yeah.
The US dollar as we know it.
Yeah.
Okay.
It will not collapse. No.
Okay.
It will take a back seat at some point, I believe. I think the renminbi is actually going to possibly be the next major currency that's in the forefront. Because if you think about it, I don't know if you've heard the headlines that came out last week. I can't remember from who. It was a very reputable individual, but they talked about how from their projections, China will be #1 economy by 2032, I believe.
Okay.
So in about 10 years, 9-10 years.
Mm-hmm.
That does not mean that the dollar goes away at all. So no, I don't see it going away, man. Sorry.
Okay. Bill, thoughts?
Okay, the dollar's got to be repriced. It's just too right, given the amount of money that we're printing and we have a debt crisis.
Okay.
Historically, the only way to get out of a debt crisis is to devalue the currency.
Okay.
Back in 1985, the dollar index went from 150 to 60 over a period of years. So it doesn't seem like everyone last year was like, oh my God, dollar index is at 100. Oh, it's on 102. Oh my God, it's back to 101. Now no one talks about it.
Yeah.
Dollar index should be at 80. And I think it's eventually going to 60. And I think they're just repricing it. Is it going away? No, I don't think so. Because when the world gets in certain parts of the world get in trouble, they automatically flock to dollars. Both the Chinese and the Russians own a lot of gold. Okay, that could help them prop up their currency.
Yeah.
I think you have to be more concerned maybe about Chinese military development than whatever they do with their currency. The currency headlines may be a prelude to a kinetic war mentality. But
yeah, there's definitely a lot going on with who's accepting dollars, who's not, who's trying to push against the dollar. There's definitely a lot going on there.
Let me just say something real quick before you go to Magic.
Yeah. If
you think about what happened with Bretton Woods and the UK pound, right? It was the front leader. It was the world reserve currency for not very long, but some time, right? It's still around. So that's going to be our scenario. It's time for us to give up that seat, that #1 seat, and move to the back. And that's just what it is. But not going away.
Okay.
Not going away.
Magic, let me pose this just a little bit different. Do you consider, so if I said to you, does the US dollar, cease to exist in 2030? My question to you is, does it cease to exist in the way we know it right now? Take away the repricing that Bill was talking about, take away it taking a back seat. Do we still have the US dollar as we know it right now, or is it going to be a CBDC by then?
It'll be digital by 2030. I'm convinced of that. But as far as what you're seeing right now, this has happened like 4 times since 1995, where another currency comes in and gets some of the dominance of the market. And I believe we're sitting at like 61 or 62% of the US dollar right now in terms of market dominance. And so you're going to see that fluctuate. It happened back then. I think we fell in like the low 50s, and then it went all the way back up to 64%. So it's an ebb and flow thing. They're going to start restricting dollars out of the market to keep things from coming back home. And then once that happens, it's really going to be up to whatever currencies are trying to take that market share to actually be viable. And if they're not, it floods right back to the dollar, because we know the dollar can handle that. So it's not going anywhere anytime soon. We've seen this over years before. To me, it's just, ebb and flow with the market. If the dollar is going down, I should be in risk on assets, because everything measured against the dollar is going to go up. So that's how I look at it. I'm just trying to figure out how to make money off of it.
Yeah, you know what? That's funny that you say that. That's exactly what I've been thinking, is that this is scary. If you've never lived through this, there's a lot of information coming out that would scare you maybe away from the dollar, or some people would say, no, I'm moving into dollars. There's a lot of confusion there. And I like what you just said. How do we make money with that? So we're going to talk about that a little bit more today. I want to kick it off with a little bit different look on the markets. I'm going to ask Bill. I've got a fun question for you. So we have different ways to look at markets. Everybody has all of these different things that they look at on the charts. Boom, bam, slam. Everybody's different. I've heard you speak specifically about moon cycles. I think Marin Altman, she talks about them as well. But I've heard you talk about this and other astrological signs that are said to impact the Bitcoin price. So the crypto fan is always saying, when moon, right? So what is the moon telling you as it relates to the charts right now, Bill?
Okay, good question. So full moon is midnight, April 6th, midnight Eastern time.
Okay.
And there's a couple things about this moon. Well, first of all, it's occurring near holidays. Crypto loves to make big moves around holidays. All right.
Interesting.
Now, with this moon, a full moon basically is, the Earth is right between the sun and the moon, creating gravitational forces that, make people twitchy. Ask somebody who works in an ER. So with this full moon, it's in astrology terminology, it's in Aries. That's the section of space that it's occurring in. I go back, I do some research. Turns out, 2013, 14, 2018, 2020, 2021, 2022, full moon in Aries in April. You've gotten some big moves, anywhere from up 3 to down 7. So how do we put that into our calculator? Well, the government's thrown everything at Bitcoin today, but the kitchen sink.
Yep.
So if there's going to be a dip, you're probably going to see it off the full moon, right? That's when everyone gets all emotional. Like, oh, it's a national security threat. Sell. They run the stops. Boom. Who's waiting down there? I don't know. All the big players. Everybody who might suspect that this hybrid solar eclipse that's coming up in late April is negative for legacy, positive for change, and positive for Bitcoin. So 2 concluding points. 1, the full moon might give you a dip. 2, if that dip is pathetic, common sense. If you expect something to go down and it doesn't, what's it going to do? It's going to go up.
Yeah.
Okay. So watch out for a full moon bottom and watch out for a rip higher, right? Because, everything's got to be repriced. I know Gann and Magic have brought this up, don't chase the last bit of the move, but no one's going to listen, right?
Yeah.
They're going to chase it above 30.
Yeah.
Wow, I didn't know about that Aries stuff. I'm an Aries, Bill. I'm an Aries.
Right.
Well, then push that Bitcoin price up, bro.
Let me give you guys an Aries full moon. Let me give you an Aries full moon. Give you guys an Aries full moon real quick.
God.
We paused this. This part of the show is brought to you by Blood's Aries full moon.
There you go.
Oh my gosh! Never a dull moment here on Debate Crypto. Smash those likes if you haven't already. Follow all the different creators on here. We try to keep it real and have some
just
fun
had a
at the
birthday,
same
man.
time.
I'm an Aries. Real
Yeah,
talk.
you did just have a birthday. How old are you now, Blood?
38.
38. Uh-oh. I'm a little bit ahead of you. I'm about to be 39 in May.
Okay,
and I'm starting to feel old,
round
getting
of
close to that
applause,
40
round of
number.
applause.
Starting to, I tell myself that I've started telling myself 40 is the new 30, 30 is the new 20. It just feels a little bit better that way. You know what I mean?
Y'all can blank off with this whole 40 years old thing. Just say.
We don't have Zombie on here today, Bill, to roast you. So
wow,
man, I was cracking up. Blood the other day. Zombie was on, and I know he didn't mean anything by it, but it was very funny. He effectively mentioned a couple different times that Bill was old, right? And so when Bill responded to a question, Bill said, well, I think he said something to the effect of, hey, I've got a bridge game to play before I go take a nap. So I'm going to hurry up and answer this question.
Oh, man. He even lumped me in with a certain senator that's a little older, which we probably can't mention. But I was like, dude.
Yeah, I was. Wow. It was definitely funny. We had some good times with that. All right, cool. So moving on, I'm going to pull this up real quick. There has been some movement in the Bitcoin space. I want to go over to you, Magic, on this, but I want to pull something up first. If I can find it, that would be nice. Here we go. Let's start off with the tweet right here. So MicroStrategy has acquired an additional 1,045 Bitcoin for $29.3 million at an average price of $28,016 per Bitcoin. As of 4/4, they hold 140,000 Bitcoin acquired for $4.17 billion with a B dollars, average price of $29,803. That's the average price. Now, let me click over here and show you something else. On that, I want to show. Here it is. I want to show right here. So they began in August of 2020 accumulating Bitcoin. A lot of you probably remember that. Michael Saylor all of a sudden was a household name if you were in crypto, right? And he spent $4.2 billion total on all of this Bitcoin. He's been underwater for a while. So it says a few months ago, he's been underwater until a few months ago when the assets price had dumped way below 20K. Now, MicroStrategy is almost at a break even. Okay. So Magic, before you answer the question at hand, Is Michael Saylor a genius, or is he a crazy man for buying all of this freaking Bitcoin at the numbers he's at? First of all, tell me that.
Both. So
Okay,
I think we're not playing the same game. He's got a lot more money. He's got a lot more capital, and his timeline and horizon is much further into the future than most investors that are risking large sums of money in the, the game. So we're not playing the same game. Whereas people are saying, "Oh, I can't wait to get to the next bull cycle." He doesn't even care about the next bull cycle almost. It's great for headlines, but for him, more than likely, he's holding on to this to put on a balance sheet and build a company around. So eventually they're going to have to take profits, of course. But yeah, I mean, it's a very risky maneuver. If you ask anyone in finance, I'm sure they'll be like, this is as risk on as you get, as far as they see crypto. But if it pays off, yeah, he's going to look like a crazy, intelligent person. And a lot of history supports people that do that. Everyone that kind of makes it always starts out with a crazy idea. Now, a lot of those ideas fail. So again, he's in the riskiest part of finance, technically, with that allocation. But again, we're not all playing the same game. He's got capital. He's got the means, and he's going to continue to do what he's going to do. That's their whole goal. So that everyone that's pitching in money, or like the money he's crowdfunding from these investors, they know what he's all about. There's no secret of what you're putting your money into there. So,
and it's not small. It's not small numbers. So I think what sometimes people forget, it's like when you're trading with more and more capital, you can have a smaller amount of a win in terms of a percentage, and it still be a very large dollar amount. I know there's people that scalp effectively, like USDC, for example. It'll move a penny or whatever, and if you got $1 million sitting in there, you just made a quick 10 grand. The next time it goes back up to $1 or whatever. So there's opportunities that lie when you have larger amounts of money. So Magic, you are notorious for watching Bitcoin order books, volume. That's stuff that we hear you talk about a lot. So my question is it when a big company, whether it's MicroStrategy or somebody else, makes a purchase like this, does it show? Because I think a lot of people don't truly understand the order flow in the books or whatnot. Will a big purchase like this show up in the order flow, or is it all OTC and it won't reflect?
It's generally all OTC, because if you don't, it'll crash whatever exchange they're on in most cases, or pump in some cases. So it's going to be OTC. Now there have been instances where, we'll call them whales, whatever you want to call it, have definitely done some stuff to like tank the price, like Ethereum on Bybit at one time. Only time I've ever seen anything like that was someone. It essentially was a flash crash. It's the only time I've ever seen it. So they rolled back everybody's positions, which was really great.
Oh, I remember that.
Yeah. But the thing is everyone's like, oh, it was a manipulation and the system failed. No, it was actually somebody just dumping a complete assload of Ethereum on the market on one exchange. And so when you see something like that, it's like, you can't really do anything about it. The move's going to be very violent, very quick, and there's nothing that you're going to be able to do as a trader.
One coin did that too, if you recall, Magic. One coin dumped a billy on the open market, if you guys recall that, and it did disrupt the markets a little bit. But like Magic said, all those bigger plays are done OTC for sure.
So I know that they are done OTC, and I didn't think that you're going to be able to see that reflect in the order book. But tell me, we talked about whether he's crazy or not. Tell me, can you show me on the charts like why they seem their average price and where they're buying right now are very close, 28, 29K. Can you show me on the charts why they maybe seem to love this number just shy of 30K? Is this a number? Obviously, he wants to stack as low as possible, but he hadn't been stacking for a while under 20. So is this a number that you're looking at to stack more Bitcoin over time, or is there a reason in particular why you think he looks at this?
So they're going to be operating a little bit differently than like someone like retail. So technical analysis isn't as prominent inside of investing companies like this. They're not sitting there in front of a chart with a guy like me going, check out this trend line or check out this breaker I did. They're looking for fundamental changes in markets, and they may be seeing something in the shift of things, whether it's the dollar. They think the dollar is going to be, collapsing or maybe taking a dip. And so to them, they look at that as favorable for Bitcoin, right? So there's also schedules of allocations where they're like, okay, I'm going to schedule it, because to me, there's no reason to be buying right here.
Okay, that's kind of what I was getting at. It seems like a weird spot.
If it was me, they're playing a different game. They're really in this for the long haul. And if he thinks that the tide is shifting, or his company does, or somebody inside of that's making those purchase decisions, see something where they think for the long term, or even medium term, it's a good time to be risk on, they're going to go ahead and do that. So the price is not quite as consequential. They're just happy to get allocation and, be in the game, so to speak. But again, they're not playing the same game. So if it drops, like to them, it's you know, it's a wish-wash thing. Like, well, it'll go back up next quarter, maybe, you know, like it's not going to look good on paper, but they're not playing the same game. They have so much more capital.
In yesterday's show, Keeper, I actually did the numbers on the amount, right? You know, Magic is talking about the price is really, you know, not a good place, but the amount is very small. It's only 7% of what they've already owned. Okay. So they bought an additional 7% with this new purchase. So it's not like it's a big chunk to really move their dollar cost average price anyhow. So it's insignificant to me.
Okay. Magic, did you have something that you wanted to show us on that?
No. I was just I was only going to point out that this is resistance, and I'm never buying at 30K here, 29,803. I'm not buying there. It sounds like they paid a premium though. You said, was it 28,903 or was it 29,803?
It was, let me look here. I will tell you in 1 second. It was 29,880. It was at
803. I think is what it was. So about 30K, and you can see that we haven't even hit 30K on spot price yet. So for me, when I see things like that, it means that they.
Oh no, I'm sorry. It was no. It was 28,016. Okay. It was 28,016.
I was going to say, if that's the case, they're paying a premium to get that position, and that's that would be kind of interesting to me. They would be very confident, I would imagine, in that.
Why? Well, let me add, that actually brings me to a great question. Why would somebody ever pay a premium to buy an asset like Bitcoin?
Well, you don't get a lot of opportunities to buy that amount of Bitcoin in one shot. You can't go to an exchange and just like load up, kind of like we were just talking about. You got to go over the counter, and so there still has to be a buyer and a seller involved. And you know, market dynamics are market dynamics, so they're going to have to fulfill that. And if they want a large chunk of, you know, Bitcoin, someone might say, yeah, I'll sell it to you, but I'm not selling it to you at this price. I'll sell it to you at 29.8, and maybe price is only at 28.7. And if the buyer accepts, the buyer accepts. That's their thing. It doesn't really affect the order books either way. But they're in it for that price at that point. So it's a completely different negotiation, you know?
Well, it's a game that I wish I was currently playing.
It's a good problem to have, right?
It is. I got an extra 29 million laying around to, just purchase some Bitcoin. Who really cares what the price is right now? We just know where it's going long term. You know what, though? It's the mindset that I have overall in terms of especially Bitcoin and Ethereum. The reason that for me, I've continued to stack over time is because I do look at it so long term. So I guess if you were liquid the way that they are, it's effectively, I'm just on an incredibly smaller scale, but it's the same kind of thought process. It's like, hey, I see where I think this is headed over the long term, so I'm going to add some more. At this point, you have some extra capital available. Maybe, like you said, they saw some of the tides shifting a little bit, depending on what their profit-taking schedule or lack thereof. When Crusader and I interviewed Michael Saylor at the Bitcoin conference last year, stopped him, had a good interview with him. A lot of you have probably seen that video. But he laughed at me when I asked him, like, will you ever sell your Bitcoin? And he laughed in my face, like, why would I ever sell my Bitcoin? Right. And then there was
why would you ever buy it then? That's an idiotic answer.
So you know what? Blood?
You buy something to sell it. So that he's talking nonsense.
But no. But I don't think so.
He's treating it as property, not to interrupt you. And so he's going to use it as an asset to maybe pull out collateral against in the future. Is how he's seeing it's digital property to him. So like I said,
or a way to get MicroStrategy acquired.
Yeah,
right?
Also
the only way to buy that much Bitcoin in the future is to just buy MicroStrategy.
Man, that's fair. It's an exposure almost to the asset. Yeah, right. That's very cool.
I never even thought of that, but there's a lot of
it doesn't make any sense because he actually sold. If you remember,
I know he did.
So that's what I'm saying. It's bullshit.
Yeah, it's so I ultimately, I've heard a lot of people talk about the fact that with an asset like Bitcoin, long term, you can take loans again. I mean, shoot, you could do it right now, but you can take loans against it and ultimately fare well through that. But yeah, he's an interesting character. He is the bull of all bulls, if you ask me, in terms of Bitcoin. He makes some crazy
bull of all
money
bulls and got in 2020. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, but think about that, right?
I'm not a huge fan of Michael Saylor that much.
I think he's questionable, but I think he is a brilliant business mind. He's a smart dude.
Absolutely. He's a smart guy. Yeah. You can be smart and crypto blood still not like you. Put it to you that way.
Well, let's talk about somebody else that blood you might not be a huge fan of. Let's talk about the U.S. Treasury's Department, everyone's favorite. They had a little something to say about what's going on in the crypto markets that I'd like to get into a little bit. It says U.S. Treasury says decentralized crypto markets threaten national security. It says the Treasury has stated that decentralized cryptocurrency markets are threatening national security. Perhaps the U.S. Treasury also mentioned that it needs greater oversight against money laundering activities. It says they mentioned on a report that DeFi allows users to transact without the necessity of an intermediary. This, according to them, poses a risk of money laundering. The report also highlights measures to implement necessary assessments and actions to mitigate the risks associated with DeFi. Before you answer this, Blood, I want to know something. This is kind of for everybody, or just maybe a rhetorical statement. They talk about having oversight. Well, you have full-on oversight of all of these banks that were taking in cartel freaking money, right? That you were taking in absolutely laundered and helped them launder money, and you have full oversight on that. So we're supposed to believe that we're the threat. I mean, ultimately, if a person is in place, there can be an opportunity for a freaking problem. So, Blood, I want to ask you, so as it relates to that, the article is claiming decentralized crypto markets threat to national security. Do you agree with this? Yes or no? And then what kind of impact do you think that information like this has on the crypto markets? Do you think that it has a negative, positive? You think it has no impact at all? Like, how do you feel about some of the stuff when you see some of this?
To first answer your question, is it a national threat? Absolutely, it is. So the dollar is part of the United States national security.
Yeah. Okay.
Right. Protocol. Maybe the number one thing. So yes, DeFi is definitely a threat to the national security. And they will definitely go after it. I think they will eventually end up banning DeFi in most capacities.
Are you saying it's a danger to them, the national security, as in an actual national security measure, or they're saying, hey, this is a danger to the U.S. dollar and we need to keep control over everything in U.S. dollars?
Right. It's a threat to the U.S. dollar, which is a national security measure.
Yeah.
Right. So it's kind of those two hops there to get to that. I think they will ban it. Maybe there will be a few DeFi protocols that are allowed in the United States, but you will have to KYC through them. And that's just what it's going to be, man. Unfortunately.
Yeah.
Land of the free.
Yeah, land of the free is not how it's felt recently. I agree with you. I don't know how soon or how quick it can happen. The DeFi thing is kind of scary because it does bring a lot of opportunity for us to get some of the crap that we get from the intermediaries out of the way. It seems like every time there's a problem, there's an intermediary. And now we say, hey, we've got a solution without an intermediary, and a computer code can effectively, tell or make a decision, smart contracts, whatever the case may be. And now they're saying, no, that's a national security risk. We've got to be able to keep full control over all.
Right. They need the system is designed to have the United States government, Treasury, Fed, or whatever you want to place direct blame on, to be an intermediary. That's what it's all about, to skim, to rent, seek, and take money in between payments. That's just what it's part of, like the whole tax regime as well. The tax code and everything. So yeah, this is not going to be something that frees us. It was for a few years, but ultimately, as it gets bigger, the target gets bigger as well, and they're going to attack it.
So with Bloodalytics, I know you usually have Bloodalytics do the heavy lifting as it relates to your trading, right? Is when information like that comes in, how does that play in, or the charts, or is the quant computing just taking strictly all of the numbers, or is there other information that comes in?
No, I don't. Yeah, it's all price action based, and that was another part of your question. Like, how does it impact the markets? I'm gonna be honest with you, man. I've been pretty shocked the last couple of months with the cryptos. The kitchen sink has been thrown. Yes.
Yeah.
The kitchen sink has been thrown at us all over geopolitical, from geopolitical to being actually issues within the space, direct attacks against crypto industry. And it has pretty much remained pretty tampered and calm.
Yeah.
So to Bill's point, though, many times markets look for a catalyst, or if there is, it's kind of like a building up, right? It's just like an inertia that's building up potential, move. And I think we're getting to that point. I actually talked about an article yesterday about Bollinger Band. The founder of Bollinger Band, or creator, said that things are coiling up. It's getting really tight. And Glassnode just came out with their own kind of fear index, greed fear index, and it's at extreme greed right now. So the Bollinger Band doesn't really tell you which direction we're going to go, but it kind of gives you maybe a forewarning of a violent move coming. And so if you add those two together, Glassnode saying that we're in a extreme greed and the Bollinger Bands are tightening, you may see that move down. And coinciding with Bill's April, blood moon, Aries, sugar, shimmy, shimmy, shimmy. That may all coincide, man, for a move down.
I totally agree with you. This is part of the reason, with all of the chaos that's going on in the markets, that we tell you to self-custody. This is the only bit of financial advice that we will ever give. She doesn't want to come on. No, she doesn't want to see Daddy today. We thought we were going to get to see beautiful Miss Addison. Apparently, she's up from her nap and she's a little grumpy. But that doesn't mean that she still doesn't hold more ETH in her wallet than you. And you need to get yourself a ledger. You need to custody your own crypto. We've got a link down below to make sure that you do that. It has always been, like I said, problems outside of self that end up being the issue. So self-custody, self-custody, self-custody. Let me say one more thing right quick, gentlemen. I got to take a quick break here to pull this up. The other thing we need to be doing, ladies and gentlemen, is your taxes. This episode is brought to you by Price CPA, Crypto Tax Bookkeeping. I've said it before, I'll say it again. I hate taxes. However, they are an unnecessary, or they are, well, unnecessary is correct, but they are a necessary evil. And they're unnecessary. It's theft. But you do need a good tax guy that knows crypto. So check out Anthony. He's a great guy. I don't know. You can get the information down below the stream. I don't know how many spots he still has left, but check it out if you haven't already. If you're doing any crypto trading whatsoever, you will thank me later. It'll save you a ton of money, just that point blank period. And you will, have the answers that you need. He was really able to help Crusader and I as it relates to our NFT sales, just some information that we didn't understand or didn't have, and was able to help out. So check that out. I appreciate you. And take a quick break to smash that like if you have not already. All right, so let's get back to it. So Bill, one of the things that we talk about a lot, and it makes sense, we're a finance-related channel, is the U.S. dollar. The U.S. dollar is a big topic that's happening, but it's kind of like the news seems like they're trying to hide some of the information from the American people. Can you tell me what's going on with the U.S. dollar currently, and how do you see that affecting Bitcoin and other crypto price action over the coming days, months, or days, weeks, months, as a whole, Bill?
Okay. So I think the U.S. government knows that they're headed for a dollar credibility problem.
Okay.
I also think the U.S. government knows, as Blood brought up, that, back in the days of the Plaza Accord, that was just a decision by governments to just let the dollar go down. It was like license to sell. It's how George Soros made all his money. You had like a 40% move straight down over 2 years. So where Bitcoin becomes a national security issue goes something like this. The world sees Bitcoin trade at a six-figure price tag. All 40 million Fidelity customers panic and buy Bitcoin. And suddenly the U.S. credibility problem is on display in a very embarrassing way for both the politicians and, like certain geopolitical events, an embarrassment to the United States could lead, bad actors or our enemies to try to take advantage of the situation. Yeah. I mean, if I was wearing a suit at the government, that's what I would say. So now, that said, believe it or not, Jerome Powell is probably sitting at the Fed going, oh my God, please get the dollar to go down. Because the only way to solve a debt crisis is to have the currency go down. Now, you don't want it to be like Argentina, right, where you need a wheelbarrow full of fiat bills to buy a loaf of bread.
Right.
but the Fed actually wants the dollar lower. They
Mm.
really do, because that can relieve stress on the system. So one branch of the government wants it, one branch doesn't. The Treasury is probably stuck somewhere in the middle, which is why they're giving us the wah about DeFi. I mean, DeFi is the problem? Really? After FTX? Are you kidding me? So the Fed wants it lower. You know, the executive branch doesn't, right? And eventually they're just going to have to admit, because like I said, Powell is eventually going to have to say implicitly or otherwise, we've lost control. You have to reprice the dollar and you have to reprice financial assets. BlackRock is at work doing that right now by re-auctioning or selling Silicon Valley Bank assets.
Yeah.
Assets have to be repriced. The dollar is just one of those assets.
It's a scary proposition the day that you have two different, 3-letter agencies, so to speak, wanting the dollar to go in different directions. And you have the Democrats and the Republicans wanting to save from either inflation or it's just, it is a big push back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. So we're going to see what happens. We're hoping that Bitcoin, obviously, it's being a crypto channel, that Bitcoin comes out on top. I mean, a lot of this has been, and we've talked about it a lot of this has been an advertisement for, hey, why do we hold Bitcoin? Why do we self-custody our crypto? Why do we want to be our own bank? Well, the banking crisis and everything that's happening with the US dollar right now basically just says, hey, this is why Bitcoin. And so for all of you that have been sitting on the sidelines, obviously we're never giving financial advice here, but it might be something to look at. It might be an opportunity that's sitting there that's been, mulling around in your brain for a little while. I'm guessing if you're watching Debate Crypto, you've probably already been involved in the crypto markets. But if you're new, maybe this is something to look into. And I would start off by reading the Bitcoin Standard. Figure out what money really is and have have the backstory, have the understanding of what money is, how it works, and what it can look like in a digital format. So I would definitely recommend buying that book if you haven't read that already, or if you've been in crypto for a while, it's still a freaking great read. All right, so let's take a look at the charts. Magic. It seems like things are freaking boring recently. So today, part of the reason, family, that we haven't dove like heavy into the charts is because things are freaking boring right now. They just are. Okay. So that's at least from what I'm seeing. I'm obviously no expert, but we tell people all the time, you tell people all the time, don't force a trade. So what are the ideal points on the chart currently if you were not already in a trade to get in or out of a long or a short, either way? You're muted.
The old boomer moment strikes again, like clockwork. So when you had me on last, this is 3 weeks ago, if you recall, I said box to box. I'm not changing my boxes. I only trade off of my levels. I put them on there, and I don't interact with the market until my levels are touched. So then I gauge the reaction and I go from there. So this is where we've been looking to short, or we've been looking to long. We were actually over here when we spoke last, and you can see this is where you want to be looking for supply entering, looking for reasons to take risk off and maybe short it back down to here. Now, the only thing that's stopping you is you do have like a local market structure range here. You can see on the breakout, we never came back below 25.2. So you could very easily run just a standard deviation volume profile to find out where are sellers potentially coming in and where are buyers. And you can see you did have the front run right here. So you never reached that blue box, right? So for me, if we come back down to the low of the range and, things are good, I would prefer to come back to this region. However, I do think that if we come back all the way to 26,724, which is that yearly pivot area, probably going to be a pit stop, get a decent bounce, but you're probably coming all the way back down to about 24/7. And 24/7 makes a lot of sense from mathematics. The quarterly pivots there, the quarterly value area high is there. If you go out to a weekly time frame, you can see that this is your breaker level that we were working off of for the better part of 6 months as well. And it would just be a really big area to lose on the chart, even if just you look at things from a regression standpoint. And again, this is just a tool that I basically tinker with the settings to have different deviations on it so that I know that I like them. They're fairly accurate. It's from Q1. So the session is now closed. And you can see that we are running out of room here. So if we start breaking down, I expect to see 26,724, a pit stop, and then 24/7 over time. And that really is the key level. So I'm going to keep playing these boxes up here right around 28. 333 to 28.7, 26.50, anything above that. And we are going to see probably about 30,000 to 30,169. You know, you really got to be kind of patient right now because this is going to chop you alive. It's okay to take intraday session trades if you're trading like a New York session or something. You know, the moves are much smaller. You're in and out. You're being a little more nimble. But if you're looking for swing trades, the boxes here, the major areas of support and resistance, these are inflection points in the market that are going to give you, one, really good invalidation, and two, you know, keep you from diddling in the middle, so to speak, as we've put it in the past, right? So I'm still looking for upside. I actually do so far like this range. I think we're going to see 30,169. I think that is going to be a reactionary level, but I do expect to probably push through to like 32 to 33K after that. That would be my next expectation, because I have no reason and no sign of weakness in the market in terms of what I've seen in order flow or what I've seen structure wise to say otherwise just yet. So the moment that enters, I'll look for potential hedges below 26,724. So however, if the market says long in this blue box again, I'm going to take the long. You know, like it's a non-emotional thing. If we come down there and there's buyers present and we start getting buy imbalances and prices putting sellers underwater down there, and I know that's what I need to see if I want to see higher prices, I'm going to take that trade again. I'll take another long there, just like I would take another short out of this region if reached. And the reaction is the same. We got trapped buyers. We have sell imbalances coming in the market. I'm gonna jump on that train. You know, I don't make the market, but whoever does, I'm just trying to follow that guy. So completely, you know, neutral. And it is boring, but you can make a lot of money in this little range. Like if you take a look at this just on an hourly, you can see this has presented you with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and you could even count this as a 7 trade. So 7 trades over the course of 3 weeks, and it's not a small percentage. If you're just, you know, trading even just a little bit of this, you're not even catching all of it. 5%, you know, that's a fantastic return. You know,
cost a little leverage on that, baby. Pump that up to 100%.
Hey, you can, but just be careful with the leverage. You know, like you want to make sure that you're working out that risk. But yeah, for me, I'm still looking for upside. One reason being is you can see that we've come down here and we left these lows initially. So this usually bodes well for the range to expand to the upside. So you've got this sideways market. This low is not taken. This low is not taken. Not taken. We've now swept all lows to the low side. We've come back to the high side, and you're now putting in what's referred to as a partial decline. It's just a fancy way of saying a higher low. So we're failing to rotate back down to these lows again, leaving the people that are down here that sold or shorted into support underwater still. So these people can still be pushed out over time, and they can actually be used as fuel still. So assuming this range continues to hold this structure, specifically this low right here, right around 27,181, it's hard not to be too bullish. And when you look at the monthly on this, I actually had pulled it up over here. So we'll actually get rid of some, I think it's actually on this chart. I did put it on this chart because it's just a little easier and cleaner. You know, you look at continuation before you got this blow off to 14K, right? So you can see that this is your monthly candle and you had a wick to the downside. So your monthly open is going to be fairly important, you know, and when we look at that again on like the weekly time frame locally here in just a second, you know, I'll show you the comparison. So what you'll notice here is there's your monthly open. You've come down beneath it. And then once reclaimed, we're off to the races. You're doing something very, very similar. We'll go out to the weekly to illustrate first. You can see how we have this breaker that's marked off here, meaning we need a change of behavior. This is just showing you on a weekly time basis that this is pretty range bound. But when you go to the monthly, you'll notice also that's essentially your monthly open. So be a very similar look to get back above 28,487 and start living there like on a daily, weekly basis, putting pressure on this resistance, and you'll get that continuation up. So that's going to be your first trigger for the breakout traders if you're into that kind of a trade. I'm not personally a breakout trader, but if I was just looking at basic market structure, basic changes of behavior without even doing order flow, RSI, any of that stuff, you really do need to see 28,487 reclaimed. And if you do, and it starts holding a support, you know, be careful. You want to watch for the swing fails still. You got to watch for that. But, you know, that's where this move's going to start getting expansion to the upside. And just like to the downside, you lose 26.7 here. You can see there's really not much between you and coming back and back testing some of these lower values. So just be smart, you know, long support, short resistance. Eventually this thing is going to break. You are going to lose an opposing trade eventually. So just don't be, you know, caught in front of a moving train in either direction when it does. That's my only advice for those that are trading this. If you're watching, it's fun to watch and you don't have to trade this. You can always just chart it out, write down your thoughts and, you know, see what happens. You don't have to have, you know, risk on all the time if you're not at that point yet. That's what I would say.
While I have been obviously friends with you for a while, had you on the show for a while, there's a lot of times where when you're going through this stuff, I'm like, oh, wow, this is like mental overload. And so we have to start somewhere. So I want to throw out there, we're going to be, if you're looking to get into trading, or if you've already been in trading but don't feel like you truly understand, we're going to be doing a seminar soon with Magic. I think we're going to do somewhere around 50 seats, and it's going to be an intro into trading. And so if you want to start, because as you've heard from these wonderful traders, that it takes time before most people are able to be profitable. And what's that time? It's learning how to trade. And so if you want to start to learn how to trade, we'll be giving you that information soon. We're going to be doing a seminar, so stick around for that. And Magic is going to be putting that together for us. I'm super excited about it. Yeah. All right. So thank you for that, good sir. Blood, got a question for you. So CZ and Binance have been getting all sorts of freaking pressure, right? Getting it from, we were talking about a little bit earlier, they're getting it from the CFTC. Is all of this ultimately FUD, or are they going to get banned in the US and other places? And if so, what kind of an effect are we going to see on the markets from that?
Yeah, they're I think they're definitely going to be banned. You see just the different attacks on CZ leading up to this point. It's coming. It's coming. Now, it's interesting to see, and you talked about this at the beginning, Keeper, how, you know, BNB has been holding pretty strong.
Mm-hmm.
And I think my thesis behind that is that I think that a lot of holders are outside the US of BNB.
Oh, you know what? That makes sense. I could see that. I could see
that would make sense, because it really, if you think about it, any actions they take against BNB, or I should say Binance, outside the US is really irrelevant. So I think it shows, as a telltale sign that the holders of the BNB ecosystem, all the tokens and stuff, are primarily outside the US. So that's
I've never even thought of that.
My thesis on that. Yeah, that's my thesis on that. So I think it will maybe have a dip, but short of CZ going to jail, I don't see any major drop, or I should say deviation from the overall market, right?
Yeah.
Whichever direction we're going, I don't see a deviation from that.
Bill, any thoughts on that, brother? Anything with
Sure.
that you're seeing with Binance?
Sure. So if they ban CZ, they basically drive him straight. They drive him and crypto straight into the arms of the Chinese. The Chinese screwed up epically, and they know it when they pushed Bitcoin mining out.
Yeah.
Right. And now Hong Kong is slowly but surely, that's how they're backpedaling. Crypto's coming back into Hong Kong. You know, if the West or anybody is dumb enough to push CZ out, they're going to push a huge crypto trading platform right into the waiting arms of the Chinese. Now, would that be in line with some of our policies, like energy policy and foreign policy? I mean, you know, is there any limit on the number of not so smart things we can do? Yeah. But if they want the Chinese can already embarrass us with gold.
Yeah.
Okay. If they have CZ, I don't know, man. You're handing them another lever against our financial system.
Yeah. Yeah. And we are dumb enough to do that, Bill, because we saw what we did with Russia. We banned Russia. We did all these sanctions. We literally, Keeper, stole trillions of dollars from them, billions or trillions or whatever. I think it's trillions of dollars from Russia. No official statement or protocol, right? We just took the money. So that lets all other countries know, oh, I have dollars. At any point, they can just take my money. It's not like, you know what I mean? So to me, that was a shot in the foot that we made, and a move in the demise of the dollars being the world reserve currency.
Yeah, I could definitely see that. Somebody in the chat, let me pull this up. Somebody in the chat said, I'd like to hear you guys' thought on this. They said here it is right here. Dixie is turning bullish. Bitcoin will struggle to get significantly higher from here. Do either of you have any thoughts on that?
Sure.
It's not turned bullish as of I would say March 7th was the local top. I was watching that. We did score a point at 10, want to say like 105.88 in that region. But since then, since March 8th, we've been on a decline. Now, if we hold 101, we're good. But as of now, we're not turning up. We're still kind of teetering toward the bottom of that region.
Bill?
Okay, well, it's not chart based because I think the chart of DXY frankly looks terrible.
Okay.
But there is a reason to apply contrarian theory. The news media has picked up on the dollar and de-dollarization, which again has been in legacy research for 2 years.
Yeah.
So, nothing against any one particular network or person, but when Tuck is freaking out about it, the trade is either over or it's on hold.
Yeah.
Right.
They
never trade with the news media. All right. So, I understand why this person would, doubt the dollar down trade given the legacy news. I get it. Right. So Bitcoin may go lower, dollar may just sit there. Okay. That's in line with what we've talked about. Right. But when this dollar starts moving, just remember one thing. The Fed actually wants it down because that's the only way you solve a debt crisis. It didn't pay to get in front of the dollar on the way up, right? Foreign exchange is a historically trending market, right? It didn't pay to get short DXY at 100 because it went to 111. Not financial advice, but I don't know if it makes sense to get long at 101 if it can go to 80.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And I think that what happens a lot of times from what I've seen is people do exactly what you're just saying. You'll hear people say, buy the rumor, sell the news or whatever, right? Well, unfortunately, that can work really well, but that can also do the exact opposite because a lot of times by the time we're getting the information, the large movers, the big players in the background have already made their moves. We've seen a lot of insider trading stuff happening right before our eyes. Talked about a Signature Bank, put out a video earlier today. $100 million these executives took literally while they were supposed to be manning their own, basically manning their own vessel and watching. They were supposed to have the oversight over money laundering, over insider trading, all of this, and they're just openly out and out doing it. And so I don't know. I see a lot of flaws in the current system, as it were. And I don't know. I'm hoping that there's some sort of solution to it. We obviously want to see that the solution ends up being something like, I don't know, Bitcoin. We'd love to see that. But I don't know. I think we are in trouble overall, just from a standpoint of we can't decide which way we want to head politically. And the two sides, because of the news media, have created effectively where they can't agree on what to have for dinner. And if they do disagree, it's not just like okay, let's talk about a disagreement. I mean, it's an all-out freaking war about anything and everything. And I think that that's going to be really detrimental to the dollar, to our economy, and we're seeing it happen. So if you haven't already, smash that like. Make sure you're following Blood. Make sure you're following Bill Noble. And make sure you're following Magic Internet Money. Magic had to jump off real quick. Had to go, I think, take his son home from school. So make sure to follow all of these creators. I've got two more questions, gentlemen. These are some fun ones. So either one of you can kick this off. First one, Bitcoin to 250K next bull cycle. Yay or nay? Who wants it? Okay, yay. Blood. Oh, Blood.
I mean, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah, I think so. Definitely. I think
250. So. Okay. Bill.
Yeah, I mean, if 1% of pension money, like the global pension fund system is like 56 trillion. Total bank deposits in the United States, 17 trillion. I mean, if you get a half of 1%, yeah, I mean, I don't understand how anybody over the next 3 years who's in like the asset allocation business can say, I don't need diversification into crypto or alternative currencies.
Yeah.
And we're talking about half of 1%, right? I mean,
I think the only way, I didn't mean to cut you off, Bill. I think the only way that we see something different from that and not wanting to diversify is if the US comes out with a hardcore stance pushing effectively crypto outside, which again,
that's where I'm skeptical and a little hesitant to say 250 for sure. Because I say when we take out 66 or 69,000, to me, that is the government's going to be kind of antsy at 69,000. Yep. So how do we get to 250 from 69?
The government holds a shit ton of Bitcoin. Let's not forget that.
they hold the most amount of Bitcoin. How about that?
Yeah.
They hold the most amount of Bitcoin, which is it's hilarious, ironic, right? So yeah, that's my hesitation there, Keeper.
Okay, Bill, I didn't mean to cut you off. Did you still have something else you wanted to add on that?
Well, I mean, I did a what if 1% of pension funds flow into BTC thing, in Chat GPT. I realized, I tried to, I think I got on this like 2 weeks before everyone else, tried to pull a price prediction out of the AI.
Yeah.
I mean, if 1% flowed in, according to this one query that I saved, based on the current volume that they've got right now, it came up with like 269,000. So it's not a ridiculous number. Okay. Yeah. Again, the AI sort of assumed like a growth rate of price based on volume, like all the elephants go to get through the door at the same time. So yeah, I mean, I think the thing you have to remember about people talking about 250K Bitcoin is they always do it at a local top. Right. No one's ever talking about 250K Bitcoin when it's at 16K.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So, 250K Bitcoin, full moon, down. Yeah. Right. Whoops. Okay. Yep. And then when everyone's going, well, it's going to zero, then you pick it all up again.
Yeah.
I talk about it a lot. The best thing I ever did was buy the COVID dip. I mean, it just flat out was the best thing I ever did, was hammered on at that time. It's buying when people are scared, ultimately knowing what you're holding long term for sure. All right, so let's assume, well, either way, whether ETH gets to whether Bitcoin, if ETH gets to 250K, your boy Keeper is going to be relaxing on a beach somewhere for the rest of his life. So ETH. We obviously see ETH running correlation with Bitcoin, lags behind generally, then it has its pump. What do we think? And again, these are just shots in the dark for everybody watching. We're literally just doing this for some fun, talking forth, putting out there some information of what, we could just see as an idea. And keep in mind, we don't know what's going to happen with the dollar. We don't know what's going to happen with the dollar. We don't know how inflation is going to play out. So there are some variables here. The 250K Bitcoin could happen very quickly, and it would be really bad. We've talked about this before, because all of a sudden we move into some sort of state of hyperinflation, right? That wouldn't be a good thing. We don't want to see that. So let's assume that doesn't happen at somewhere around the value of the dollar right now. What could we see ETH move to? I'll start with you, Bill. What could you see ETH moving to in this next cycle?
Okay, so the ETH answer is it depends. I worked with a guy who was a Wall Street economist at a prior company, and he was an economist who had advanced statistics training, and I commissioned a study about, the relationship between ETH, the dollar, and say commodities. The conclusion of that research was, if you get grains up, gold or precious metals up, and the dollar lower, that's, a dollar down trend, like as in, okay, that's the recipe for 5-digit ETH. Okay. The Chat GPT number of the time was, 12K is what we pulled out if you got, if it was priced for perfection. Right now, 12K ETH in a world where the dollar is that low, that's probably a little scary, but ETH can't go up from a mathematical standpoint that high unless it actually is a part of a commodities complex. In other words, everyone is talking about, oh, well, the dollar's going down. How do I trade it? Believe it or not, because commodity futures are hard for people to get into. The first leg of the dollar down move may be commodities up. CRB index has been up only now for 5 days. So, that's a roundabout, but ETH's got to go with grains, metals, and the dollar. Okay,
that's some good info. Blood, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, ETH. I think the last calculations I did was maybe 6 or 7 months ago, and I said I think like 18,000, 16,000, somewhere in that range, close to where Bill is saying. But again, it all depends on if the overall market is going up. It's not going to go up if Bitcoin is heading lower or stagnant, in my opinion. It's and that's why I don't really focus too much on specific coins, because I just need to look at the big daddy. Look at Bitcoin, figure out a macro direction with Bitcoin, and then you can kind of come to a conclusion on the altcoins.
Yeah,
in the most cases.
I totally agree with that, and
Tom Crown.
I think with the what up, Tom? What up, Tom? Good to see you, brother. Yeah, I totally agree. I obviously, I talk about it a lot. I hold a nice little chunk of ETH. That's my largest holding, and so I want to see it do well. The upgrades that have happened with some of the burning and whatnot has been good for Ethereum overall. I'm looking forward to continued growth in Ethereum, and more people obviously getting into the crypto space will help. So so I just want to thank everybody for being here. It is Thursday, and y'all could be literally anywhere, and you're hanging out here with Debate Crypto. Mr. Noble, Mr. Blood, and then for those of you who just got on, we had Magic Internet Money on here. Make sure to follow them. Their information is down below the stream. They're working hard for you on a Thursday, so thank you guys for being here. And then Crypto Fam, we love you. Just remember to question everything, trust nothing, and until next time, hodl like it's hot. We will see you soon.